Hey there everyone, welcome back, it's Jaycee. I'm sure you all are fans of the A2 card size, but today I wanted to try out something else. Let's use the A1 RSVP or 4-bar card size and make the most out of the smaller real estate. I've got 10 card examples to share with you all today, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about the A1 card size. I'll make my final card dimensions 3.5 by 4 7/8 inches. To make my side folding portrait or top folding landscape card, I'm going to start with a white note card base weight cardstock cut to 7 inches by 4 7/8. I'll score this note card base at 3.5 inches to obtain my final note card size. This size card does not have to be a folded card, but rather a flat lay RSVP card found in wedding save the dates. My first two cards I'll be sharing with you today are made with the Petite Posy Mini Delight stamp and die set. This stamp set is part of the Altenew Mini Delight subscription service, and I thought its small size would fit perfectly on these A1 cards. I'm pairing this product with the Delicate Flower Bed 6x8 stamp set, as I found the illustration style is somewhat similar. I'll stamp this large image on a panel of 4.25 by 5.5 white cardstock. The ink is the alcohol marker-friendly permanent black crisp ink from Altenew. Then on a smaller scrap white panel, I'll stamp the outline image from Petite Posy with permanent black as well. I'll very loosely color a few of the flower clusters on the delicate flower panel, leaving a bit of white space toward the tip of the petals, and fully color the leaves. Then with the Petite Posy panel, I'll use my stamp positioning tool to create ink blended layers with the solid layer stamp. First, I'll align and stamp the solid layer with Frosty Pink as normal. Then before removing the solid stamp, I'll partially apply Coral Berry closer to the leaf part of the image. Using the Altenew large ink blending brush, I'll diffuse the ink by twisting and patting the stamp for a smoother transition. Once I see that there is a gradual gradient of ink, I'll transfer the ink onto my paper. I'll repeat this step 2 more times for the other 2 flowers. Then for the leaves, I'll mirror what I did for the delicate flower bed flowers and stamp the image with the solid Desert Night crisp ink. Off camera, I fussy cut the flower images from Delicate Flower Bed and die cut the images from Petite Posy. I grabbed my first A1 folded card base and planned this arrangement on the card front. I added gold splatters using enchanted gold metallic watercolor from the 14-pan set before gluing down all the fussy cut and die cut flowers. I used one of the sentiments included in Delicate Flower Bed and gold heat embossed the sentiment onto vellum. Then I neatly adhered the vellum by applying liquid adhesive only behind the embossed portions of the sentiment, and that finishes this first card example. Still using the Petite Posy Mini Delight stamp and die set, I was inspired by blue and white Chinese porcelain and thought to combine the small stamp set with Mod Vases stamp set. On my stamp positioning tool lid, I have one of the solid image stamps from Mod Vases, and I'm using an acrylic block to stamp directly onto the Mod Vases stamp. If you've used a printing plate, this stamp kissing technique is exactly what I'm doing. For the first vase, I'm layering dusk and sea glass for an antique looking vase. Then I'll use the dusk ink pad and ink up the edges and diffuse the ink with an ink blending brush to give some dimension and roundness to the vase. I made 2 more vases using the ink transfer technique and made sure to also add dimension to these vases. There are coordinating dies for this stamp set, but I didn't want to expose a white margin, so I simply fussy cut the vases right up to the vase outline. I arranged the vases and added them on top of this wood grain cardstock from Altenew. Then to finish this card, I added white splatters and a sentiment banner for this short and sweet A1 size card. Let's move on to a different stamp set. This one is the Grape Leaves Stamp Die Mask Stencil Bundle. For the next 5 examples, I'll only be using the stamp and die set. Lately, I've been obsessed with the large ink blending brushes. They're much easier for me to use, and I get quick and smooth transitions between colors. So just like before, I'm applying spots of color directly onto the stamp. For this first layer, I'm randomly applying yellow ochre to portions of each leaf. Then I'll take my yellow group ink blending brush and pounce the ink on the stamp to diffuse the ink. Then I'll take Autumn Blaze and build this layer up in the same manner. Then I'll take Vineyard Berry and build a few layers of this ink onto the stamp. I recommend working from lightest to darkest so you don't have to clean off the stamp between layers. Since we do not have a lot of space on these card fronts, I find it important to make large impacts in focal points. Before die cutting these leaves, I'll add a few splatters from Espresso Watercolor Brush Marker Refill for some added texture like real autumn foliage. To mirror the gradation and smoothness of the grape leaves, I'll balance this card with some cell shading type coloring. I've stamped the 2 pomegranate images from Happy Pomegranate Stamp and die set in Vineyard Berry. I'm stamping directly onto a panel of Spice Yogurt cardstock. I'm going to color just the fruit portions of the pomegranates in this cell shading, no transition type coloring style that I've seen on Instagram. The spicy yogurt and vineyard berry combination are not made for heavy washes of alcohol markers, so I'm being deliberate with my color placement here to avoid feathering and bleeding of the alcohol marker and inked outline. So you'll see it's a very cartoonish but bold coloring style, and I like how it looks with the grape leaves. I used the coordinating dies of all of these images to cut them out. After deciding on arrangements, I foam mounted the leaves and pomegranates onto some cream colored cardstock for my background. I added a hefty amount of black splatters to balance the black thread I have bundled behind the focal elements. Then finally, I foam mounted the "You Are So Special" sentiment. I made this sentiment strip by white heat embossing onto some black cardstock. I opted for a tilted arrangement to mirror the playful feeling of the pomegranate coloring. I love the way these turned out, and I'll show you 3 more quick examples using the same techniques. I made a darker version of the pomegranate card by first fussy cutting some of the flowers and leaves from Enjoy the Ride 6x6 paper pad. I did not leave a narrow margin around these elements. I cut them right to the outline shape. Then I made some warmer blue leaves by using the Tranquility mini cube set, and die cut the images like the previous card. Now I know my background is going to be black, so to hide the white margin around the die cut leaves, you can either fussy cut the image, or in this case I'm going to use the Altenew Artist Marker in Jet Black. This comes from the same Altenew Artist Marker set A as the pomegranate example. I'm using the brush nib of the marker to outline just enough of the white cardstock to eliminate the white margin. And luckily this shape isn't too complex, so this was a fast step to help add in just enough detail to this card front. Another thing I noticed about these smaller cards is that I'm able to make multiple cards at once, which I really like. I recently wiped out my card stash in giveaways, birthdays for Leos and Virgos, or to send to fellow card makers, so now I feel like after these 10 cards I have a buffer again for times I really need a card. I finished these 3 cards with white thread and white splatters, then I added a sentiment strip using the same "You Are So Special" sentiment. I love these smaller gender-neutral card palettes with an all-encompassing sentiment, and they worked up pretty quickly. I had to save these next 3 cards for last because they ended up being my favorites. I found the illustration style of Paint a Flower Carnations and Positive Vibe stamp set to be fairly similar. I also really love the sentiment style of both stamp sets with the romantic and loose brush lettering and encouraging sentiments. These cards are also perfect for mass production, so my biggest regret with these cards is not making enough of them. In my larger stamp positioning tool, I'm arranging the large carnation outline and the positive vibes outline to plan my arrangement. It takes a little bit of fine-tuning, but these floral clusters happen to fit and align perfectly like a puzzle, and because of this, it looks as if they were truly meant to be together. Using the stamp positioning tool is important for planning out these outlines, so I suggest you get one if you haven't already. For this first landscape card, I added this very simple "The world is yours" sentiment. I'll smoosh the Sunray ink cube directly onto an acrylic block and add a few drops of water to splatter directly onto this card front. To add dimension without adding any height, I used a large ink blending brush and chamomile to create a gradient. I'm working on the silicone stamping mat to protect my filming surface. Now, I made these cards on some card panels, but if you're brave, you can do this directly onto your note card base for a true one-layer card. But all I did was adhere these card panels directly onto my note card base for these super quick and elegant golden scenes. Those are my 10 A1 size cards. I will be making many more of these card sizes in the future. I write really small, so I can give the illusion that I wrote a lot on the inside of the card. But anyway, are there any other card sizes you would like to see in my next perfect pairing video? Let me know in the comments below, and please make sure you subscribe for more card making content and tutorials. I'm so glad to be back here after more than a month hiatus, so I hope to see you here again very soon in the next one.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.